Be the right club. Be the right club today.
Johnny, that's better than most.
How about in?
That is better than most. Better than most.
Expect anything different?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the No Laying Up Happy Hour live show presented, as always, by our friends at High Noon. Solly here, calling in from Jack's Beach. Icarito, the Czar, Mr. Neil Schuster calling in from
the friendly confines of the franchise's office in Atlanta, Georgia. We're fired up to be home.
And we have Kevin Van Valkenburg here calling in from
somewhere north of Baltimore, Solly. I want to get sort of vague on that. I don't belong to this country club anymore, so I can't really claim. I don't want to shout it out unless I'm a member here.
This show is, as mentioned, brought to you by our friends at High Noon. They got the all-new vodka iced tea, guys. That's what I got right here. When you see that gold rim, you know it's a vodka iced tea. It is time to ditch those sugary malt-based teas. Try the High Noon vodka iced tea made with real vodka and real iced tea. It's non-carbonated, no added sugar, 90 calories, and it is great for any occasion under the sun. Sun has been beaming here. It's coming. Summer is coming. Comes in 4 delicious flavors that you got to try. They got the original, the peach, the lemon, and my favorite, the raspberry. The raspberry. It is fantastic. HighNoonSpirits.com to find the all-new iced tea, vodka iced tea somewhere near you. They got a great tool in there. Search it up. You'll find it. It's fantastic. So, guys, Memorial Week, we're going to talk a little bit of Muirfield Village, a tournament near and dear to my heart. Neil, I know you have some family ties back to that one.
We do, yeah.
We're going to do a little bit of trivia, I believe. You've prepared some trivia for us or some stuff
I
on
do.
some Muirfield Village history.
Fired up about that. Yeah.
I'm already pre-embarrassed because I don't know how well I'm gonna do in some of this. We got a little story time. We got some look into it, but just want to flash this. This or just kind of mention here. This is kind of an underrated driving accuracy golf course, right? You go to datagolf.com. I always got as a kid, I always pictured it as a bomber's paradise, but it's actually like the quintessential like decently long course, but it's got wide enough fairways that it actually rewards driving accuracy. And I don't know if that's the kind of the first reaction that people get when they think of Muirfield Village.
As a kid, Solly, they were bombing it out there like 280, and you were just in awe of how far they were hitting it.
You got distance on the mind. I don't know if you listened to much of the Brandel pod. It's a lot of distance.
No, I feel like everybody talks about the the approach game at Muirfield Village, and of course working the ball left to right. An ode to Jack and Jack's place, but I wouldn't peg it as a driving accuracy course. Solly, where'd you pick that up?
That's Data Golf. Come on, where this is at. You go to that course profile. They give a bump to Colin Morikawa. Obviously, gets a great bump here. He's got great course success as well. That matches up really well. But Brendan Todd gets a bump here. Russell Henley, Andrew Putnam, Lucas Glover, and a guy that needs a bump a lot. I mean, he's been really scrambling and struggling. But Scotty Scheffler does get a local course bump for the profile of this golf course. But I truly don't know what golf course he's not going to get a bump at. I don't know what the profile says.
Can we just maybe pour out a High Noon for my favorite stat of all time in the history of NLU was Scotty Scheffler's strokes gained putting last year? What was it? He lost was it 12 shots on the field in his putting, and he was top 5? I
would have to look that up. I think it was if he'd have putted decent, he would have won by 16 or something like that. And might be it. That might be a wrong.
If he had been strokes gained 0, just average, he would have been.
I think it was won by 8, but if he'd have had one of his better putting weeks, which is rare, but he would have won. Yeah, he would have won the tournament by that. This was I don't want to say rock bottom last year, but this was pretty close to rock bottom in terms of.
I think it was rock bottom. So I don't think there's a worse one. This was definitely.
So it's worth starting there as how far we've come in 12 months with it's the only thing that could stop him was the as he would call it, the Louisville Police Department last a couple of weeks ago, which I don't know if he was messing around in that press conference, but that was awesome. As someone who mispronounces everything, he was just going back to Louisville multiple times and. Straight faced, so shout out to Scotty. I continue to like him more and more, as the weeks go by.
I've got it ready if you want me to just play it for you. We're going to get to this later, but I have the clip ready if you want it.
So if we needed to, if I kind of became like, I don't really know how to describe it, but basically if I had to show up in court, I think Steve was more than prepared to pursue legal action. But at the end of the day, I did not want to have to pursue legal action against Louisville, because at the end of the day, that the people of Louisville are then going to have to pay for the mistakes of their police department. That just doesn't seem right. And so at no point did I ever want to sue them, but if it came there, I think my lawyer was more than prepared to use that as more of like a bargaining chip type thing, more than anything.
God, that's awesome. That warms my heart. That's the highlight of my week. Stop it all right now.
You did it twice. That's the best part.
It's so sincere, and that's how it's spelled. He's sounding it out. It's awesome.
He's not. There's no way that's an intentional troll. That's just Scotty being like, "Oh, sounds like Louisville to me." Nice of him to stick up for the taxpayers of Louisville,
for sure.
But he spent a week in the city. He spent, several weeks dealing with the Louisville Police Department, the local Louisville. Like, he had to have heard the word Louisville so many times over the course of the last several weeks. How did he land on Louisville?
Listen, I've laid in bed at night wondering how I could pronounce things the way I do sometimes, Solly. It's just, I think it seems very sincere, and it warms my heart to see him just commit to it like that. It's awesome.
I've got another interview clip from him as well, just kind of talking about just his reflection on things here.
No, I definitely hadn't moved past it, and I would say that I still, wouldn't have 100% moved past it, because the charges are dropped, but I still, now it's almost more appropriate for people to ask me about it and ask me about the situation. And to be honest with you, it's not something that I love reliving, just because it was fairly traumatic for me being arrested going into the golf course. And so it's not something that I love talking about, and it's something that I'm hoping to move past. But when the charges are dropped, that's kind of only the beginning of kind of getting past it, if that makes sense. So kind of, operating through that now. And it was definitely a bit of a relief, but not total relief, because that's something that'll always, I think, kind of stick with me. That mugshot, I'm sure, is not going anywhere anytime soon.
God, that's good stuff.
I found that interesting, that too. Just kind of the fact that it's almost more like people are more willing to ask him about it now that he can comment on the case and whatnot, and that it doesn't seem to be going. I think it will go away, though. I really do.
And I think he's going to make it go away faster by being open to talking about it. Like, I think this is just like another, I don't know, like just another compliment I want to give Scotty, is like, the more he gets in front of the mic, the more I like him. During the tournament, he's like, guys, I can't say much about it. And then he goes on to give 30 minutes of like the best sports interview of the last 12 months, describing the situation, how he's feeling. Like, he's just very sincere. And I think that's just serving him really well with, a situation like this.
It is. I kind of have felt a little sheepish about being so team Scotty, just because people say, he's dull, it's whatever. Like, he doesn't give you that much. Like, dude, I keep getting stronger and stronger on this side. The way he's handled this whole thing, the way he has, like you said, just is willingly talked about it, even though he wasn't supposed to, and just everything he's said and the way he's handled with class. Like, as much as we make fun of the Class Acts tour, like, dude, that dude is class. That is the way he has handled this is not necessarily how I would have, but
it's authentic. It's like, he's not giving you a stock answer. He's just giving you, like, it could be kind of boring, but it's honest. And his answer in his press conference, that same press conference on like fatherhood, he's like, I got no idea what I'm doing. There's people I'm asking for help out here, but he didn't say a whole lot with that, but it still felt very authentic to me. And so I'm starting to really appreciate that I don't feel like he is a bunch of canned answers like some of these other guys are.
I think we need him and you and Scotty talking fatherhood for probably 40 minutes, Neil, on a pod. That would be exceptional.
Might have to get him on the trap draw.
I'm gonna corner him after one of his U.S. Open rounds. Be like, hey, my guy would really like to talk to you about some father stuff, because he's got a lot of a stroller talk he'd like to get into.
Yeah,
bottle warmers, all that. Scotty would be deep into that.
God, I know. I bet he had a big registry. Would love to know what he's rocking right now on the stroller scene.
I doubt he even had a registry. I bet he's come on, I made $38 million last year. Don't buy me anything, guys.
I don't know.
I'm too classy for that.
I bet he's particular. I bet he loves certain like strollers. I bet he's like investigating and looking on. That's super earnest kind of Scotty's personality.
You think so? You think he's doing the research?
I would bet. I'll be interested. I might grab him and ask him. Be like, all right,
please do. That would be great.
into thing. He honestly, you guys talk about this though. He gives good answers to good questions. If you give him like a bad question, he will sort of blow it off. But I think I've always had a lot of love for athletes who, the better the question, if there's something kind of abnormal, not a cliche, they will give it some thought and try to give you like a real good answer. And he's one of those guys.
But also just like, so yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
It seems like since the players, he's been like, the speech he made at the players was like, again, kind of just perked my ears of like, dude, that sounded a little different. It seems like he's just like, no, I'm going to speak my mind. And it's not, my mind's not crazy. Like I'm not going to come up with really crazy stuff that you guys are going to be able to react to, but I'm going to say what I'm feeling and thinking. And he, I don't know, it has made him more interesting to me. I'll say that.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know, the preparation, like he's almost preparing for his press conference the way he does golf. It's like, I know I'm going to be asked about this. So instead of getting upset when he gets asked about the Louisville police, he's just ready to answer the question. And he's going to answer it in a very straightforward manner. But like a lot of these guys almost like, how dare you ask me that? It's like, it's coming. Like, don't get all aggrieved by it. And I, that's another thing I just appreciate about him. So anyway, back to Memorial, Sully. Sorry, I got you off the agenda.
No, it's all good. So we have signature events. We've had a lot of these, and it seems to be a topic of conversation for a lot of these has been the sponsor exemptions that go into it. And one Tron Carter NLU tweeted at the PGA Tour comms department when they tweeted the sponsor exemptions this week, an acronym for "Are you fucking kidding me?" This week, which I found to be quite comical. So I thought maybe we go one by one here and grade the sponsor exemption, both for what it means for the tournament and does it make sense for the sponsor and the tour as a whole and the signature events. But first one up, Alex Noren as a sponsor exemption. What is that accurate? Do I have that right? Didn't he get the final one? I'm pulling up inside the field list, but what kind of a random one?
He did, yeah.
Are we giving letter grade, Solly, or not?
Sure.
Okay.
However, satisfactory, unsatisfactory, pass, fail, or a letter grade. You can do whatever you'd like.
I'm gonna go B there. I feel like it's nice for the Memorial to have international players. I think Alex Noren, very, very classy guy, certainly could would tell some tales with Jack. I'll go B there.
I would say C. I think he's had 2 top 10s this season. I feel like I've seen him a lot on the leaderboard. Doesn't feel like he has any tie to the tournament itself. But I'm not offended by it. I mean, I think he's not a has-been by any means, but it doesn't feel like there's a marketing component to this one.
Which I think if on the surface, I was like, why? I don't understand this one. If you go back, he missed the cut last week at the Canadian, but before that, he has finished, I think I'm counting 8 or 9 straight times inside the top 25, T12 at the PGA, T24 at Wells, 3rd, T23 at Corrales, T14 at Texas Open, T11 Houston, T19 Players, T9 at Palm Beaches, right? So he didn't get in via the swing 5 or 10 or 15 or whatever those are. He didn't peak really, really hard, but he's played really, really good golf. So like, if we're looking, I have some issues with some of the other ones, but if we're looking to fill out the tournament with some of the better players so far this year that are going to be potentially competitive in the tournament, I think that passes the test. Like that, people are going to yell about sponsor exemptions no matter what, but that one's kind of like, okay, like we're getting one of these guys into the field that's been playing some solid golf. So
yes,
agree. Billy Horschel.
I think past champ, I think he had a memorable moment here breaking down. I think it was last year when his game was in the wilderness. This is what, to me, if you're not going to go with a young gun or somebody that's an exciting young player, I have no issue with the sponsor exemption like this. This is good. This has a storyline. His game is back. He's been playing a lot better. Sign me up for Billy Horschel.
Yeah, I'll go A-, I think, or B+. Let's not be too great inflation. It's not like Columbia, University. I think.
Oh, stop that. Well, that's true. It is a lot of curve going on in Columbia, but that's happening everywhere. Give me a break.
I'll go B+. I think Billy's a plus for the tournament. He, being a past winner that, people that have seen this person win, that people come every year to the tournament, like they know him much more by name than we would associate with it on television. So that makes a lot of sense. But
I think he's personable too. He's going to interact with the crowd. He's going to give him a little something.
Well, and I think you rewarded for being vulnerable. Like it's kind of what we want to see from these guys. Last year, when he was in a vulnerable spot with his game and it was in a really horrible place, he wasn't scared to talk about it. And, that happened at the Memorial. I think that should be kind of rewarded. I love this one.
What about Brandt Snedeker?
Listen, okay, this like on the surface stinks, but I'm gonna toss Workday a pass on this one. I like this less than Kuchar because this is the same thing. They sponsor both guys. Workday does, but when you see what the CMO from RBC was saying about like these title sponsors that are shelling out for these signature events, like if you're the tour, you try walking in and telling them that they can't like get their guys in that are wearing their logo, like that would be a battle worth losing. Of like, listen, you guys are fronting 25, 30 million bucks to host this event. We're kind of ripping you off. If you want to get Kuchar and Snedeker in, that's going to be a tough battle to fight because like they're spending millions of dollars sponsoring these guys and they need to get a little bit more exposure for them. Now, is it a lesson for Workday of maybe we should drop these guys? Maybe you throw that back on the CMO and say, hey, maybe it's time to cut bait on these guys or renegotiate that deal. And maybe we can get a young gun that deserves a shot more than Brandt Snedeker.
Can I pause you on that one?
Logo? I don't know.
Can I pause you on that one? That like a lot of the decision makers at Workday probably know who Matt Kuchar and Brandt Snedeker are more than they would an up and coming guy, right? So this is like the not fun side of professional golf. And
it goes back to your point on this segment. It's like I agree with TC on some of the sponsor exemptions this year being a disgrace, using his word. And are you fucking kidding me? Sure. Like when the guys on the player advisory council are on the board are getting, when Webb's getting one just because he's on the board, I got a massive problem with that. But I also think it's important that the sponsor exemption is up to the sponsor. So if this is truly Workday saying I want Snedeker and I want Kuchar because I sponsor these guys, I'm not going to throw a hissy fit about that. I think if that's how they want to use their sponsor exemptions, that's fine. I just don't like it when it feels like the tour is shoehorning in someone unrelated to the tournament. That's where I get a little bit. I'm on TC's block there as well.
Can I just, for the record, read Brandt Snedeker's finishes this year?
Oh, it's so bad, dude.
Yeah. No, I'm not fighting that this is justified from a place standpoint.
I just want to read it for the record.
Yeah.
Cut, T78, cut, T72, 40, T48, cut. He's not have a single tournament this year where he has positive strokes gained in any tournament. That's pretty brutal.
Which if we're going to say these signature events and we're trying to get the best field, that is a bad look. That's a really bad look. It's a sponsor exemption for a reason, right? It's kind of up to them.
It's a tackle. This is not. I don't like it any more than they open themselves up to criticism. That's fair about all that. But like, you can get in this tournament by finishing the top 50 in the FedEx Cup in the prior year. That's your way to play in. You can also get in through Aon, Swing, blah blah blah, and all like those two categories as well. Like you can play
Swing 5, Sally.
But isn't there another 10 too? A next 10 that get in.
The next 10 in the Swing 5.
Okay, yeah. So you can do all that, right? So you can play your way in. If not, there's also tack-ons into this that are for the sponsor, like literal sponsor exemptions. It is not almost certainly not going to go to the best player, right? And that's just not how it's likely to happen. And it's not a fun side of it, but it's relatively inconsequential for it's not like going to throw a lifeline to Snedeker's career, right? It's not going to get him into the top 50 for next year and get him into all the signature events and all that.
And my argument, my issue would be to go to Workday and say, hey, you're using these wrong. Like your strategy's wrong. Like I think Kuchar has more of a case. He's a past winner. Like, I don't think he deserves a spot, but you could justify a past winner. For me, you can make that case more than you can Snedeker.
He plays really, really well at this golf course. Hasn't over the last several years, but his like course history is like, whoa, holy shit, you love this golf course. So I wouldn't be surprised if Cooch got involved. He qualified for the US Open this week as well.
Okay. And then on the flip side, I do want to give a shout out to Auburn freshman Jackson Koivan, who won the Nicholas Award. So he gets an exemption into this, along with the Haskins and the Hogan Awards. So I think he's cleaning up. He won the Phil Mickelson freshman award. He's All-American. And I think Auburn just won the national title. So shout out to him he'll be playing this week as well.
I also will give a shout out to our friends at Roback. You guys know Roback. It is best fit, best feel. It is summer. We are, of course, living in Roback. They just released their American Summer Collection. It's fantastic. The Beyond the Golf, they got bathing suits now you can use to go from a hot day on the course straight to the pool. Haven't pulled that one off yet, guys. I don't know if I can pull that one off.
Just up at my childhood club playing with my mom. I saw a kid. He was going over to the pool. I don't know if he was wearing a Roback bathing suit, but he was pulling that move. It's summertime in Atlanta. Yeah.
Dynamite drop in, Neil. That broadcasting school has really paid off. Beyond the performance polos, Moisture Wicking, they got great stretch. That's a Major League 2 reference for the record. That's my favorite movie ever. They fit way better than your old boxy polos. They're the best designs paired with the best feeling polos out there. The shorts are great. They're fantastic. I love the everyday shorts, the elastic waistband. They're great to sleep in. They're great for the gym. Got some workout stuff going on. I'm excited to tell you guys about that at some point. But or the Rhoback Looper shorts are great for the golf course as well. They got the belt loops, better for a tucked in polo. They're comfortable. The fabric is flexible. They're fantastic. The hoodies are the best. Got my big Randy one on. This is I saw him wearing this one and I knew I needed to have it because he pulled it off that well. And he's my favorite influencer. So performance hoodies are fantastic. I wear them every single day. It's time to load up on some Rhoback both for yourself or for others. Code NLU at Rhoback.com gets a generous 20% off your first order through the end of this week. RHOBACK.com. 20% off bottoms, Q-zips, hoodies, and more with code NLU. Summer isn't the same without Rhoback.
I would say one Rhoback thing. I want to shout out the workout shirts.
Yes, they're great.
They're awesome too. Just the Rhoback t-shirts would highly recommend those.
We're going to do a little story time here in a second. I want to throw this out there. Michael Kim had a great tweet today. It includes an image of the 15th green. He said, many years back at Memorial, Jack was in the booth doing some commentary. They showed Jim Furyk on the older design of the 15th in the right greenside bunker to a short-sided pin, and Jack commented that Furyk was going to have a tough time getting it inside 10 feet from there. Jim hits it to almost tap-in distance, and that really annoyed Jack. So the following year, he decided to use these wooden bunker rakes with super wide teeth marks. And what happened was you either had a flat lie that was half plugged, or it was perfectly.
Should have had no shot there. Should have had no shot there.
He said, I think it's called farreling or something. Anyways, all the players showed up on site and were surprised and obviously hated it. After Thursday's round, a high-profile player at the time, not Tiger, goes to player dining and walks straight to Jack. He says, Jack, if you ever do this to the bunkers again, I'm never coming back. I spent 20 years perfecting a technique to beat these guys in the bunker, and you took that away from me, and they never went to it again. I remember
who is that player? I read that tweet, and I was just trying, because he said it wasn't Phil. Michael Kim followed up with another tweet, said it wasn't Phil. I'm just trying to think who would have the gall to walk up to Jack and say that would have the gravitas.
We could spend all day trying to guess who that might be, but this was a huge controversy back in the day. I remember it.
Scary player. Jack, I tell you what, I've said in 20 years I've been debating the sentiments.
They did the fairway bunkers too, and like everybody was just furious about it. It was just like, oh, the pampered pros just have to have their bunkers perfectly raked. I've never thought of it from that perspective though, of like, hey, like I've like mastered this technique to be able to play out of these bunkers. Like you cannot take away this skill and randomize this in some way. But I know
I take that away, man.
I'm usually
his
on
tournament.
Go to Pine Valley and bitch about how there's no rakes.
I know.
So
you're gonna go to Pinehurst and bitch about the waste bunkers. Like, come on, man. I'm way out on whoever that player is. I mean, good for him for saying something to Jack, though. That's cool. But just generally, I think there's like this bygone era now of like, it was Bay Hill with Arnie and Byron Nelson, where it was like, this is Jack's tournament. That was Arnie's tournament. This feels like the last one where it's actually Jack's tournament. Like Genesis doesn't really feel like Tiger's tournament.
Yeah.
And what I appreciate is how active Jack is with the course and trying to make it a challenge. And I like that he tinkers with it. And I look forward to reading like, what's he done? Oh, he's changed 16 again. Like he can't help himself. And sometimes that backfires on him, but it does add a cool layer to the tournament of it's at the same course every year. And so you have this context to see like, hey, what has Jack changed this year? Like, where's he going to stub his toe? Because 16 last year was outrageous. So it's like, all right, fine, guys, you're right. I need to make some changes here. But I don't know. It doesn't feel like there's anybody coming up, after Jack, where they're having a tournament at a course that is home to them. Yep. Right. Like you have Tiger's Invitational, but that doesn't feel like home in any way. Yep. It doesn't really feel like it has anything to do with Tiger at all, other than him just kind of being there playing host. So, from that standpoint and related to Michael Kim's thing, like I love little anecdotes like that of how Jack kind of inserts himself into the competition a little bit.
Have you? I haven't read much reaction on what they've done to 16. Like, what can we Any feedback?
Yeah.
I mean,
So they moved the tees up 30 yards and to the right. So he's basically taken the water, like you're not going to have to carry the water quite as much. And now guys can access the front right part of the green. So because the greens are so firm, the problem was there was just literally nowhere to land it without it going into the back rough and those guys being kind of boned back there. So he changed the angle on it. I think he assured some people that it's going to play just as hard. I think it's still going to play like 210 to 220. But he just basically changed the angle and moved the tees over 30 yards, it sounds like.
Yeah, they've never been able to get that hole right since they've redone it, which is like 12, 13 years ago now. It's not been a short period of time that they've had that. And that's where we got this question from JS Thoughts 1. How do you feel about Muirfield Village? Are you excited to watch the golf there this week? How does it compare to Valhalla or Quail Hollow to you? It's obviously the tournament I grew up going to is 5 minutes away from where I grew up, and I had huge reverence for it for a long time. And over time, I've gotten less. And I think it's because I've always felt like the last 3 holes are some of the worst finishing holes on the PGA Tour. I think a good golf course, I hate every single one of the last 3 finishing holes, which are supposed to be the best and the most dramatic finishes. And every time, Jack, it's like somebody got bad plastic surgery and keeps trying to get more plastic surgery on top of it. And it's like, I see all the scars of what you've been doing here, and it's all I see, right? It's lost any and all appeal to me, and I don't know how you guys feel about that, but there's been some great changes to the golf course over the years, but I just really get frustrated by the finish of this golf course.
Yeah, I feel like it's a kind of tournament that I always expect to feel a little bit better than it is. Like it feels like it should. It has weight, but it doesn't feel. I don't know. It's never have a super satisfying shootout that hasn't involved Tiger right at the very end. I guess that's where.
Yeah, I agree with you on 16 and 17 are tough. 18, I feel like it's really hard, and I like seeing a guy try to hold on, and kind of thread the needle and hit that fairway, but it doesn't produce. That hole does not produce an exciting finish because guys are holding on for dear life. I do like though the space that it occupies on the calendar. You could argue this is a bad thing because it doesn't create exciting finishes, but you have so many guys coming in with form. There's always a lot of storylines. And being a signature event, you got to Hovland's trying to defend. Which Hovland are we going to see this week? Oh God, we could talk ourselves into 5, 6, 7 other guys, but Scotty, why would we pick anybody other than Scotty? Cantlay's won here twice, I believe. And it's always oh my God. So because it's here every year, you do get the horses for the course, and it comes at a time when I think a lot of these guys are peaking right before the U.S. Open. So I do like that about it.
I think one of the golf courses that had got the Tiger boost of Torrey Pines is great, Quail Hollow is great, Tiger plays there, he plays there, and they've been pumping out great highlights on all over social this week of old Tiger shots. That was the reason I'm sitting in this chair right now is that 274-yard, 2-iron into the 11th green in whatever year. And he has provided some noise at that place, man. I remember I think it was 2000, the year he flubbed a chip on 14 and then chipped it in for par and gave the enormous Tiger fist pump. And I had already staked the spot out in the front on 18. And that was the loudest roar I've ever heard from a different part of a golf course of any course I've ever been on. And it was, I think 14-year-old me had the biggest FOMO I've ever had in my entire life of my God, I missed the Tiger chip in. And he's just had so many incredible moments there that, it has elevated that course throughout the course of time. And now sometimes it does feel a bit sleepy at times, getting a little more distance from it. But
you got, I think is it 5, the other par 5, one of the other ones in the front? 5 and 11 are just such awesome par 5s. I love both of those holes, and they produce really fun highlights. You almost wish that there were more holes like that towards the end of the round, because after 14, it does get a little sleepy. The uphill, the 15th, I know he's changed it, but that par 5 is, it's okay. There's some, it's not as exciting though as 11. 11's awesome, man. I wish that we could, flip those in the rotation.
Talk to Jack. He might still tinker with it, Neil.
I know, seriously.
I feel like they made 11 less exciting though over the years. It's longer, it's harder to get there in 2, and it's less. It's not as worth going for in 2 and whatever. But you want to take us to a little trivia, a little history?
Guys, I would love to. Okay, so Memorial, Muirfield Village. Do you guys know what year that Muirfield Village was founded?
I think 1976.
72?
No, so the land was bought in 1966.
Okay.
The golf course is situated on 220 acres where Jack's father used to take him hunting. And, he won his first Open Championship at Muirfield in 1966, and it is named kind of in honor of his first Open Championship. So Jack acquires the land in 66, and he messes around with Pete Dye, kind of is his little, I think picks his brain for a while. He doesn't start building the course until 1972, and he partners with Desmond Muirhead. Though Muirfield Village is considered the first Jack Nicklaus design. Do you guys know anything about Desmond Muirhead?
No. Did Jack pick him because his name sounded like Muirfield? Or
No, that's what I thought. So I started looking this up. This guy is a total menace. So I found this fascinating article by John Strawn on the website, theaposition.com. I would highly recommend people just search up basically Desmond Muirhead. So I'll call that out. And the Golfers Journal also wrote a good piece about Desmond Muirhead. He's English, but he lived in California. He went to the University of Oregon. He was in the RAF. He was a total menace. So his nickname
this guy's a Muirhead. You won't believe it.
Yeah, he's crazy. So he was called, quote, the father of private golf club communities, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But basically, the golf course determines the shape of the community, not the other way around. He was the first guy to really look at like the positioning of houses in relation to golf holes, how roads should flow. So he was an urban planner, by trade. So he had a 6-year partnership with Nicklaus early in Jack's design career, and he kind of reached the pinnacle of the profession, working with Jack in the early 70s. And then, of course, they had a falling out. I don't really know what happened, but instead of him going off on his own, he just quit. So he just stops designing golf courses, and he moves to Sydney, Australia, and he sold exotic glass and symbolic art for 10 years. So basically just had an Australian walkabout. Then he moves to Hawaii. I think he spent some time in China. He spent some time in Thailand. So then he comes back to golf course design like 15 years later, and he's best remembered for like his outlandish, and some would say cartoonish, golf course designs. He designed holes in the shape of New Jersey, bunkers that mirrored Nordic crosses. At the end of his career, he took a lot of inspiration from art, and so he got real flamboyant. And at the Aberdeen Golf Club in Florida, he had land sculptures. And so then there's a course, Jordan, you could throw this graphic up now. He had a course at Stone Harbor in New Jersey. The hole is dubbed Clashing Rocks, and it claims inspiration from a challenge the ancient Greek hero Jason faced in his quest for the Golden Fleece. So in the Aeneid, the Argonauts had to avoid an ambush by maneuvering through a pair of pouncing islands. But people say that Desmond's kind of take on this looks just a lot like a Pac-Man. So he designs this golf hole, and
it's in the middle there too.
I know. So he designs this golf hole. It's obviously awful. Nobody can hit the green. So the club just immediately redesigns it into like a boring island green, like after he leaves. But he did a bunch of this stuff. So his reputation kind of suffers. But he's quoted in this article by John Strawn as saying the only thing worse than criticism is not being discussed at all. So he died in 2002. But he was like at the top of his game in the 70s, and so this guy's fascinating. And so obviously I went down a wormhole this afternoon looking him up. And there's a bunch of holes. That's not the only one that looks like that was the craziest one I could find. But late in his career, it's like he just got bored, and he's like, nobody's doing anything new. People are only doing these template.
Nobody's doing this. That's the thing.
Nobody's
doing this.
So sick. So all right, we'll start our trivia now. What other course did Muirhead design that served as an annual venue, long-running venue for a professional golf tournament?
Wow.
LPGA Tour. I'll give you a hint. Mission Hills Country Club, later named Dinah Shore Tournament Course, which was the host of the Dinah Shore and the Chevron until 2022. Now they've moved on to Houston.
Is this Memorial trivia, or is this Desmond Muirhead trivia?
So I was just going to kick off trivia. Nice segue into Memorial here. Okay. So who did Nicklaus play the ceremonial first round / exhibition match with at Muirfield Village in 1974? Fellow Ohioan.
Oh.
John Cook?
No, good guess though. Tom Weiskopf. So Nicklaus won. He shot 66, which stood as the course record until 1979. Okay, let me find another one. Who won the inaugural Memorial Tournament? 1976.
Roger Maltby.
That's correct.
Ooh, that is great, isn't it?
Yeah, he won. He beat Hale Irwin in a playoff for his third career victory at the inaugural tournament. All right, KBB, this one was for you. There's a scene in Tin Cup that was inspired by Muirfield Village. What was it?
So it's got to be the Shanks scene, right? Because the circular range, right, that kind of goes around with they're shanking balls sideways, and Kevin Costner is, and that's why it almost hits Johnny Miller and a bunch of other people.
So it's close, and I think the circular range setup is part of it. But Roy McAvoy stealing range balls in that same scene is from basically so I think that was inspired by Gary McCord doing the same thing at an early Memorial Tournament, because it was one of the first events to offer free and new range balls to players.
Really?
So apparently Gary McCord was just throw a few of these in the bag. So early on, Jack he spent a lot of time with Clifford Roberts. He wanted this to be like Augusta up north, so he tried to figure out how can I make this like a really good stop on tour for these guys. How can I treat the players really well and turn this into kind of an elevated event, which I give him a ton of credit for. So, all right, Solly, this one's for you. Who won the 1987 Ryder Cup at Muirfield, and what was the score?
Europe won it. They won it 14.5, 13.5. Is that right? No, 15-13. 15-13.
Team Europe, captained by Tony Jacklin, won 15-13, and it was the first loss for the U.S. on home soil. They were 13-0 before that, so that's tough for Jack to lose it at home at his home course as the captain.
There's some amazing stories from that one where like Barbara had to go and buy American flags to hand out to fans because they were just politely clapping and not acting like a Ryder Cup was going on. Ben Crenshaw bent and broke his putter and had to finish off a match putting with a 2-iron in the remainder of it. And Jack lambasted his team, yelled at the team at night or something. I think Shane Ryan's done a deep dive into that one. It's pretty incredible. That was one of the years the Ryder Cup changed forever.
All right, so Memorial or Muirfield Village hosts the Memorial every year, but it's hosted a bunch of other tournaments. 1992 U.S. Amateur being one of them. Who won that U.S. Amateur?
1992.
1992, well-known player.
Phil Mickelson.
No. Solly?
I do not know.
Justin Leonard.
He
won 8 and 7. He beat Tom Shire. It kind of blew his doors off.
That
was a beat down, total beat down. Muirfield Village is one of two courses to host both a Ryder Cup and a Solheim Cup. What is the other course? Hint, it's in the U.S.
Is it Hazeltine?
No.
Inverness? Do they host a Ryder Cup?
The Greenbrier.
Oh,
did not know they had a Greenbrier.
Surprised me. I did not know they had a Ryder Cup at the Greenbrier. So that one
I knew that.
Caught me off guard.
I did not know they had. That was the Greenbrier one was the year that Ken Brown and somebody else acted up, almost got sent home.
That's right.
For just acting like complete idiots, protesting stuff and just their shoes were falling apart. That's an interesting one. I remember talking to Tony Jacklin about that.
All right, I got two more. What is the course record and who holds it?
John Houston shot a 61 back in the day. I remember that. I don't know if that
is correct.
Okay,
that still holds up. 61 in 1996, which I was kind of surprised by that nobody's matched that. I guess Jack and credit to Jack, he keeps making the place harder and harder. Yeah. He's keeping up with the times.
That record is going to stand for as long as Jack's alive, at least, because nobody's going that deep.
Barbara,
I got one more. Tiger Woods has won 5 Memorial titles, which still kind of blows my mind. Who has won the second most?
Probably not Roger Maltby.
Is it Jack? Did he win 3?
I think he's only won.
No, Jack won 2.
Yeah.
So he won in 79 and 84, and his 84 win, or 77 and 84 was his second to last win. So he won the 84 Memorial, and then he won the Masters in 86.
The reason I know he won in 77 is because in one of the deep dives that Solly and I did, Jack he won in 77 is the first time he won his own tournament. and he was so excited about it that he almost retired on the spot. He told Barbara, I think I want to hang it up. I think that's it. I've got a great career. That's Oliver. And she talked him out of it. And then he won 4 more majors after
He
that.
literally threatened retirement for 28 more years until he finally did it.
That's so sick. All right, I'll give you a hint. He's won 3 of them. No, it's not VJ. This guy's won 3, but you're in the right era, Solly.
Kenny Perry?
Yes, Kenny Perry's won 3. Yeah, which I totally forgot about that. But Kenny Perry, menace. I would like to. Yeah. He's another guy we should think about a deep dive on, or maybe getting him on the horn. I feel like he might have some stories.
Yeah, putting it on the list.
A proud Louisville resident.
That's right.
All right, that's all I got. That's my trivia for the day. So
fun.
Wonderful.
But just Desmond Muirhead, total menace of the week for me. I had no idea this guy was. I apologize to his family. Was not familiar with his game.
To all the Muirheads out there,
for sure.
Well, let's get into our picks this week, right? And we're give a shout out to our partners at FanDuel. We're going to make some plays for this week. Of course, as always, odds are subject to change on some of these. Always. But who wants to go first? Kevin, why don't you give us your pick this week? What do you like?
All right, so this is my first time doing this, so I'm very excited here. I was picking through some of the things. Ben Griffith finished 2nd at the Canadian Open. And
also known as Ben Griffin, correct?
Griffin, sorry.
Hell yeah. This is sick. I love it.
Hopefully I'm talking about the same guy who finished 2nd in the Canadian Open. Can't guarantee it. But first round leader, you could win a lot of money at plus 7,000. So I was like, I could throw 50 nuggies on that and eat out on that for years. And also I decided I couldn't parlay this. It was not available as a parlay. But I was talking to Lauren at the U.S. Open, Lancaster, after she missed the cut. She hung around for an extra day to practice. She was like, my game is really close. Just had one bad 9 stretch. Just didn't play the back 9 very well. And I think it's getting real close. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to throw a winner out here for her. But you never know. It's time for her to bring home a first win. So
in New Jersey. I love it.
A TC here with we're supposed to have 1 pick and pulling off 2. I salute you.
Listen, I'll allow it. I love a first round leader play. I mean, KV, these never hit, and so this will be fun to track. So I love. This is a great first effort from you. I'm all about it.
Neil, what do you got?
I have, I got Sungjae Im as top Asian. I love the nationality plays, and I know Hideki's won here. I know Ben An is playing awesome golf right now, but I feel like this course, he's top 10 here a couple years ago. He's had some bad starts here, but the course feels like it fits his game. He hits the ball super far. He hits it really high. He's way better. He needs to start winning big events, and this feels like a place where he could kind of kick that off. And so I'm going to go with Sungjae Im as the top Asian finisher at plus 360.
I didn't know this category existed. Like, where does the cutoff? Is Jason Day? Can he claim his Filipina side? I think
everybody has a flag you play under. So I think that's
okay.
That's what it is.
That's a good distinction.
I am going to go. Listen, Muirfield Village is famous for, a lot of Noli areas, a lot of great stadium seating out there. There's a lot of grassy knolls to be able to see a lot of great play with. A guy that has almost won this tournament has a great course history here. I'm worried about the stars. I'm worried about Scotty, and I'm worried about Xander this week. Who do I think is going to win this week? Of course, I think Scotty's going to win because I think he's probably going to win most of the tournaments. But a winner if you can go winner without Rory, Scotty, and Xander Schauffele, Denny McCarthy's plus 4,500.
Got a sharpshooter like him.
100%.
Guy's got a great 3-point shot. Grassy knolls everywhere. This is such a good pick, Solly.
This course is about accuracy from long range, and we know my guy Lee Harvey Oswald's got that. So Denny's my play this week, and I'm excited for that one.
An unfinished business, a bit of a Stu Sink play from you here.
That's
really I can support that, right? Last year, runner up in the playoff to Hovland. I don't know. Let's just go around. Who do you think's going to win? You think Scotty? Just easy pick.
Yeah, I mean, I already think very highly of his game. When I saw the course fit was actually really good, it's like, all right, yeah. Again, if he putted normal last year, I was trying to pull up the actual numbers from last year. He lost 2 strokes per round, so he lost 8 strokes on the green alone last year at last year's Memorial, which is if he'd have just putted average, he would have won the golf tournament easily. So that's my play.
I'm going to go Victor Hovland, Neil. I think my guy's back. He's been grinding with Joe Mayo. Think about what he did with like a week of Joe Mayo or 4 days of Joe Mayo at the PGA. He could really be dialed in at this point when we see him. So it's good course fit for him. Big time play for Victor.
KVV, I'm right there with you. And I feel like there's not a lot of short grass around this course, a lot of thick rough. I think that kind of can, it's like, yeah, you can just chop it out of that stuff. I feel like Hovland, give me Hovland plus 1,800 too. Good odds. I will be rooting for Victor this week. I think it's an awesome story to see him balling out again.
Love it.
I think is going to have a great week. Not necessarily on the PGA Tour at the Memorial, but down in Texas I think the sun is going to absolutely buck this week at Live Houston. I don't know if you guys have seen the forecast out there, but Friday, Saturday, Sundays, highs of 97, 95, and 94 with over 60% humidity on all of those days. The real feel, I don't think I checked this earlier this week. I'm not positive this is right, but I don't think the real feel for any of the hours they're going to be playing is ever under 100 degrees at Live Houston. So I'm taking the sun. I'm buying low on the sun right now, and both the humidity. I think they're gonna have huge weeks down in Houston.
Sully, I have been checking the weather. I'm going to a wedding in Fort Worth this weekend. So it's just as hot up in Fort Worth. Not looking forward to sweating through my suit.
I'm sure John Rahm would much rather be sweating through that Legion 13 gear than playing a course where he should have multiple wins on.
U.S. Open qualifying, the longest day in golf was this past Monday. Harry Higgs, our guy, made it out of Durham along with Sam Bennett and Webb Simpson. Justin Lauer qualified. He gave an awesome interview afterwards too, kind of reflecting on his journey and playing golf on Father's Day. Hopefully, if he makes the cut for the first time playing at Pinehurst, is going to be fantastic. Willie Mack qualified out of Jupiter. Also, Matt Kuchar and Daniel Berger. Dean Burmester was one of two live players as well to make it, as David Puig was the other from made it out of California. Cam Davis beat Adam Scott in a playoff. Adam Scott's streak of consecutive major starts is in jeopardy. He would need to. He's right on the edge of staying in the top 60 of the OWGR, but I think he's probably projected to fall out after this week, unfortunately. So,
is he playing this week? He didn't make it into the.
He did not, and there was some chatter about him why they didn't give him a sponsors exemption into this one as well. Which is now we have a board member not getting,
now we're arguing for a board member. Yeah. Pick a side, guys. Come on.
The whole, you got to give people shots to extend their major championship playing streaks. We went through this with Angela Stanford on the women's side. The impressive part of that is qualifying for it, right? I have a great respect for Adam Scott's career, but I don't know if some of these things, dude, if you didn't make it out of sectional qualifying, were you going to win the U.S. Open? That's kind of part of the journey on this, right?
Yeah.
How could you make the argument you were going to contend if you didn't make it out of qualifying? But whatever, that's a different conversation.
Yeah. A couple notes on. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Say Mark Hubbard medaled in Canada. Our guy Zach Blair did it again, medaled at Springfield, and will be playing at Pinehurst. And Tim Vieding. I think I did it wrong again. Did I? Tim?
No, that was good. That was
good.
right.
Okay. Tim Vieding continues his absurd play. He qualified as well. He's having a massive season on the Corn Ferry Tour. So
I played out at Golf Club of Georgia on Sunday with my buddy Paul, and they had the sectional qualifying out there on Monday. So I played I guess his practice round. This guy Hunter Eichhorn. He lives up in Chattanooga. I want to give him a shout out. He shot just a ho hum 66 with us. And he finished at 9 under, I believe, or 8 under. He had a tough first round, 71-65. But fourth tee, I'm like, oh, so you playing some Corn Ferry? Because I saw his name on the leaderboard at the Veritex on the Corn Ferry Tour. I was like, no, I have 0 status anywhere. And I'm just so you and I were talking about it earlier this week. It's this guy, I'm watching this guy just make it look so easy. It's people don't understand how many good golfers there are. This guy has no status. Are you serious? This guy was he was a ball striking savant. But it seems like he had a good showing. And then Jackson Coven, he finished at -9 in that qualifier. You had Ollie Schneider-Jans out there. The qualifier was -13. Jackson Buchanan out of Tacula, Georgia, finished at -13. Chris Pete Fish, -13. And Frederick Ketterup from Denmark, -12, got out of the Golf Club of Georgia qualifier. I do also want to say Andy Ogletree was out there on the range. High Flyers bag, hat, shirt, just holding court on the back of the range. bunch of heavy hitters out there. So it was fun day watching those guys warm up for the sectional stuff at Golf Club in Georgia.
Ask me about my live golf team.
100%.
Also, to your point there about Eichhorn was like, go if you didn't rush to listen to the Steven Yeager podcast last week, I'm not gonna blame you. I'm not gonna get mad at you, but I go back and listen to that one, folks, because if you want to like an example of somebody that made it out of this massive like pool of people of incredibly talented pros that you'll almost never know their name. He's one of them, and how he did it is really, I think, interesting and fascinating. Of his way of hitting the ball far was shocking to me, and a bad reflection on technology, I think, but it was amazing that he's in the top 20 of the FedEx Cup right now, and hopefully making the Tour Championship and going to get back in the Masters and everything. It's just interesting dude, and interview, and his perspective on that was great. So
one other thing, like you compare like Zach, medalist at Springfield Country Club, awesome golf course, pretty easy walk. I mean, a little hilly out there, but course is, pretty tight. Golf Club of Georgia, not a walking course, carts. And I was like, dude, 36 holes out there in the Georgia heat, like that. Talk about the longest day. It really, the selection of where you're going to qualify is a big deal. And I'm like, man, that is a tough spot for guys to go 36 and keep it together. So just seeing some of these scores, you're like, God, there's just so many good golfers that like nobody knows about. And when you see it up close, you're like, anybody that's like, oh man, I could definitely do that. Absolutely. No, you couldn't. Absolutely never. No, thank you.
It's a couple questions that I want to fill in here. I really like this one, and I don't know how I'm going to answer it even as of this moment. But ATOC pod, ATOC pod, I don't know exactly how you want to cut that off. He said, halfway through the golf year, has it been a good or bad golf year so far? We might be past halfway technically, but it depends on what you consider to be the halfway point. Yeah,
in between majors, this does feel a bit like halfway. I would say objectively bad, like some bad luck, some. It depends on whose perspective you're looking at it from. I think if you're looking at it from, I try to look at it from like the, not health of golf, but like you've had a bunch of weird winners. You haven't, Scotty has been on a tear. So in that way, maybe you see like a rise, but there's been just like usually the West Coast swing has a lot of juice and energy. And I feel like this year because of weather and because of just some not super exciting winners, it has not been an exciting year in golf. I don't think it's been a year where you're like, God, like I felt like last year the game of golf, the professional game, got a lot of good breaks with certain winners and certain finishes. And I feel like this year it's kind of flipped the opposite, or we've regressed back, So you're going to get, you're going to get both, but I would say it's, it hasn't been a great year.
Kevin?
I think the majors have been good, and that's usually where I sort of come down on, like, that's what I'm going to remember years from now, like the
players.
Yeah. So we have the three biggest tournaments really feel like they mattered. I was on the record as not being the biggest Xander fan, but I think he's like a deserving major champion. And Scotty obviously like sort of established himself as the dude, as particularly the Masters. Like, God, if you told me now he's going to win 4 Masters, I'd be like, that might be low. So I think that's what I feel like it matters the most, is like those 3 tournaments so far. And I'm feeling good about it. I agree. It was feeling pretty rough with all the rainouts and all the sort of weather problems and stuff early on. But I don't know. I try not to get too hung up on like this guy won and he's a nobody. Like Jake Knapp could be like a really good player 2 years from now. We're like, oh, that guy's on a Ryder Cup team. That guy hits the shit out of it. That guy's like, we should have seen this coming a while ago. And so I don't want to like dwell too much on like the people who are winning are not like the regular established stars. Like hopefully it sends a message to like the Jordan Spieth and the Justin Thomases of the world of like, yeah, man, like you guys are kind of falling behind here if you're not winning tournaments.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a tough start. I think I'm still on the side of, if it's pass fail, it's a slight fail to me. I think in terms of just the beginning of that year was super rough, and the majors have been good and the players was really good, and the best play like the players and the 2 majors have been won by number 1, number 2, right, of the best players in the world. Like that's a good thing. They weren't the most exciting. The PGA was a very exciting tournament, and the players was exciting. The Masters wasn't exciting, but it was like the most proper golf tournament. It was exciting up until the very end, right? So it's trending towards it could be a year that's kind of saved by some good major championships and some exciting golf, but it was one of the worst West Coast swings and runs that I can recall having. And so the PGA Tour side has been a little juiceless, right? But
yeah. Well, that's kind of like KVV. I agree completely with the point you made, but you also kind of made my point when it's like, yeah, all that matters are the majors and the players. It's like, well, that's where it's like, whose perspective? If you're at the global home, you're like, damn, this has been a tough year. Like this signature event stuff, like none of them really mattered, right? It like basically, because I like your argument of like looking back on this, if Scotty wins 2 of 4. It's like, oh my God, will it be a very memorable year? That'll be the story. And that's what matters. But it just kind of proves that like the regular season, doesn't really matter. Which I don't know if is a good thing for like the pro game long term.
Well, I think the year started under the cloud of Rahm leaving too, of like, dude, what is the PGA Tour, right? I mean, it used to be the best collection of talent. Like they've just gotten hit by enough guys now where it's like, oh, there's some dudes missing out here. Like it's harder to figure out what it is actually, what I'm watching. Sorry, Kevin.
I just think Bryson's like kind of ascendance again, his reemergence as a great player has mattered. Honestly, when you think about whether I'm interested in watching Live, Rahm has done nothing for me in that sense, but Bryson kind of has. Like I feel like I'm more interested in like, if not straight up Live tournaments, like certainly his own kind of content, and maybe I'm way more interested in him in majors. Like to me, Bryson is kind of the Live needle. Maybe they ought to just lean into the Bryson model of things. Like, hey, we're not gonna like treat it all that seriously, like it's life or death. We're gonna kind of be entertainers. We're gonna sort of yuck it up. We're gonna look into the camera and pump our fists, and then cut it into a YouTube clip. Like you can make that argument to me that like that would be appealing to kids.
Yeah, and we had a comment here just from Drew McConnell just asking about, talking about expected churn for signature events. I tweeted something about this earlier this week where, the models, originally were saying like we're expecting out of 50 guys that are exempt from the prior year's FedEx Cup, we're expecting, I think it was 18 guys that they said, would it on average be churned out of the system and 18 new guys would be in. And at this point, if it ended right now, there'd be 17 new guys in, right? And it's almost exactly lining up with how it was modeled in terms of expected churn and guys falling out through poor play and guys earning their way up in through good play. So I don't know where the balance stands and after playoffs and this remaining signature events and majors, if that becomes less potentially. I don't know the answer to that, but we will see. But just something worth monitoring. There's
what sucks though, Solly? Like the signature event model, like it's the PGA Championship proved to me that would work. Like the PGA Championship was a signature event with all the Live guys included. Yeah. And it was a shootout. It was a birdie fest. I know like that's not really what we want a major to look like, ideally, but like I loved it because because you got to see Bryson and you got Brooks involved and you truly got the best field in golf. And it's like, so then I guess back to the original question, has it been a good golf year? In a lot of ways, no, because it's proven to me that like without those guys, the signature events don't feel like anything. They just don't feel as good as they could be. You do feel like you're missing something, and that's a shame for like just golf. It's like year one, it was like, oh, this is all new and a few good breaks. It's like, yeah, this seems to be working, and then it's a bit of a sophomore slump of like, dude, can we just get everybody back together? Like, damn. Like I would love to see Rahm at Memorial. Fuck. Yeah.
I know. Last one. Get 28. Do you guys agree with Big Bob skipping Memorial? We can go quickly on this one.
Yes, I'm all in for it.
Yeah, if you need to.
Yeah. Don't go play if your heart's not there. Yeah, go do what you want.
Take a week. I got you.
Turn down a spot in a $20 million tournament. I'm all in on that. So we have a lot to look forward to in the remainder of this week's season finale of Tour Sauce tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, Kingston Heath Championship match. No spoilers on who is in it in case people have not watched
Solly versus this guy. Let's go.
I literally just said don't spoil it in case
No, I said you
watched the season.
Oh, sorry. Well, I thought you meant don't spoil the ending.
No.
I don't know. I mean, they probably saw some stuff. Who cares?
All right. Well,
I think the 1,000 people watching live, they sorry.
I could tell you were getting ready to do it. I was like, no, don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. That is tonight.
You're right.
Kingston Heath. We'll be back with a live show this coming Sunday after the Memorial wraps. A lot of travel going on this week. If you don't see us on socials as much during the Memorial, that's probably why. Another U.S. Open preview podcast coming out tomorrow, recapping the last 3 U.S. Opens at Pinehurst. And, of course, be sure to check out the podcast that posted overnight with Brandel Chambly, rehashing some of our beefs, talking distance, U.S. Open, all kinds of stuff that I think is well worth your time as well. So we're pumping out the content. If you want to learn more about that, you can become a Nest member. Where can people do that, Neil? nolayingup.com/join, I believe
that
it
is. Exactly where you go. And we have a newsletter going out tomorrow. So all this, if you want to bi-monthly update on all this stuff, newsletter.nolayingup.com is another great resource.
So I will end it right there. We will all end it right there. Thank you so much for tuning in to another happy hour. See you back here Sunday night. We'll see you tonight for the premiere at 9 p.m. Eastern time as well. Thank you for tuning in. Cheers.
Cheers.